Hey everybody, and welcome. Today I'm going to take a look at this XSPC Raystorm Neo all metal that will be going into my new desktop PC build and cooling my CPU. So opening this guy up, we will find an instruction manual, the block itself, mounting hardware, and some of Arctic's K3 thermal paste. So the all-metal variant is the newest model in this Raystorm Neo lineup, and I'm a sucker for shiny things, but not really for RGB, and the regular versions of the Neo have a clear plastic cover on top here, you know, that you can change the color of the lights. So this obviously looked the best to me. I guess it would have a little bit more thermal capacity being all metal, but I'm sure it's quite negligible. Okay, so now I've got the plastic wrap off of the block, and you can see easily how it mounts to the motherboard. You've got this upper plate right here, which holds the main block down, and then the mounting hardware presses down on the four corners of the plate. One thing that's a little bit interesting is just seeing how little area there is really on the main block that the plate actually presses down on. And this water block and plate comes in at 1 pound 1.6 ounces. Looking at the bottom block, we have 4 of these 2mm hex screws, which will allow you to open it up to see the channels inside. After all the screws are removed, let's go ahead and see what this block looks like inside. So I'm really glad I ended up opening up this block because as you can see over here and the associated marks here on the cold plate itself, they didn't do a great job assembling this unit, and the O-ring actually got pinched. It's not fully in the channel, and there's some of the material that's pushed over here, so I'm going to have to see if that presents any leak issues later on. When I was taking out all of these 2mm hex screws, they were pretty low in torque. And they weren't all even. Like, one of them was a lot tighter than the others, but in general they seem to be somewhere around like the 5 to 8 inch-pounds torque area. Looking at the top side of the block itself, you can see that the water comes in through this channel here, gets squirted down in the center of the fin arrangements, and then the water goes left and right to fill these outer channels before eventually exiting over here on the top of the block. So now I'll go ahead and I will button this block back up and move on to installing it on the motherboard. Now, because of the chiplet arrangement on the actual CPU, I think what I'm going to do for my thermal paste is I am going to put one line of it here kind of over that single chiplet, and another line of it over here across the lower chiplets, so that when the water block applies pressure, it'll spread it out evenly across the center of the components on there that are actually generating heat. Next, XSPC wants me to place these nylon washers over the studs for the backing plate, and then I can take my posts and screw those into the backing plate. Now I can take my water block and peel the protective film off of the base, and then place it down onto the CPU. Now XSPC, in their instructions, they have it oriented like so, with the inlet port facing the RAM slots. So I will go ahead and I will follow their instructions, and I will do it that way. So I'll grab the top, put it on, and then I will just drop this whole assembly onto the posts. Next, because this is an AM4 socket, XSPC says to take these little nylon washers and place 2 of them onto every post. And then after our nylon washers are placed, we'll place 1 metal washer over each post. Next, we can place the springs over each post. Lastly, we have the top caps, and XSPC wants you to tighten them in a cross pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat.